Hello and welcome to your very first news report of the F1 MyDriver career. I'll be taking you through this special pre-season update to give you all the lowdown ahead of the season opener tomorrow at 7 PM BST. Heading into this year, the FIA have made drastic changes to the technical regulations. Most notably is the reintroduction of V8 engines coupled with hybrid ERS technology to create a lovely blend of power, performance and sound. There's also been a maximum car weight limit added, which means that these new breed of Formula 1 cars will now be over 100 kilograms lighter than their predecessors. And finally, Pirelli were tasked with creating tyres with higher and less linear degradation, meaning teams will be the real mystery at the start of the season. Pre-season testing has been made very limited this year, so every team was eager to get out at Catalonia and make the most of it. And the first team to break cover on their new car were Audi. Audi come into this season with their driver lineup unchanged from the end of last year, with 2020 world champion Carlos Sainz alongside the ever-present and now veteran 5-time world champion Sebastian Vettel. The German outfit were overjoyed at the return to V8 power. With their engine department being superior to all other teams, they once again look to be the team to beat in a straight line. But as has been a characteristic of the team throughout the entire series since they came into the sport, they lack downforce, and both drivers were seen being caught out by the lack of a planted front and rear end. The Jaguar Works team aimed to capitalise on this very weakness, as a return to V8 has suited the team much more, like it did in previous seasons. The 2016 world champion Stoffel Vandoorne returns to carry on leading the team forward alongside rookie Alexander Albon, who makes his debut in the series. The only concern for Jaguar will be their infamous reliability issues, which have plagued them since entering the sport 4 seasons ago. For now though, during testing, things have looked good for the green outfit. The same, sadly, for those Tifosi fans out there, cannot be said for the prancing horses. Scuderia Ferrari entered this season in 2023 already on the back foot anyway, let alone with their car, having lost their star driver Aarava, with the Brit stating he had been made an offer he couldn't turn down elsewhere. In reaction, and quite poetically, Ferrari have promoted their junior driver Mick Schumacher to partner Charles Leclerc, to form a teammate partnership that was first seen back in their Alfa Romeo days 5 seasons ago. Now onto their car. Their car has looked quick at times during testing, but the team have also had a lot of technical hiccups, which has seen the team sitting out many hours of testing here and there. So once again, as is a classic trope I guess of Formula 1, Ferrari look to have a very bumpy year ahead of them. Now onto that pretty massive kernel of driver transfer news, onto the departing Aarava then, who has come full circle in 2023 and is signed to drive for the team that he made his F1 debut with, McLaren Racing. He'll be alongside the Australian Daniel Ricciardo in what Zak Brown has described simply as a punchy lineup, as the team look to return to the forefront of the grid. The McLaren continues to be powered by Jaguar, as was the case last season, which is an interesting dynamic going into this one for the team, considering that Aarava left Jaguar back in Season 7 out of frustration of their poor performance and reliability. The Brit has said though it's water under the bridge, and reports say a pretty hefty salary has helped grease the wheels of the entire deal. The orange and blue outfit have looked just as quick as the Jaguar Works team, but admit they lack a proper understanding of the tyres, and that may hinder them in the opening rounds of the season. We now move on to one of the new teams on this year's F1 grid, Porsche. Following the collapse of Haas Chevrolet's F1 program due to tough financial times, Porsche have entered the sport and taken up their free grid spot with their own works program. The team is being financially aided by the Red Bull team, as the Austrian outfit has signed an exclusive customer team deal to get the Germans' power units. Porsche have signed on Pascal Wehrlein, who was the team leader of the outgoing Haas team, and alongside him is the young gun of Lando Norris, who's been let go by McLaren to give way to Aarava. The Porsche team and name has a great pedigree in motorsport, and alongside with a financial and technical partnership with Red Bull, they aim to hit the ground running in Formula 1, and during testing have appeared to be slap bang in the middle of the pack. Speaking of Red Bull, the now Porsche-powered team debuted a strikingly different car to the others, piloted by their long-term servants Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi. The team are hopeful with rapid upgrades through the season they can challenge for the title late on, but they do admit they're unsure of where they're going to be exactly at the start of the season, owing to inconsistency with their chassis and the tyres again. Mercedes, I guess, faced a similar story in a way. Their Monster Energy sponsored car is piloted by the returning 2019 world champion Max Verstappen and promoted junior driver George Russell. The Mercedes car actually appears to have the most downforce of all the teams on the grid, looking planted as ever in Sector 3 of Catalonia. But a weak engine and a chassis that's hard on its tyres may shackle the team to the second half of the field until they see major upgrades. So far we've taken you through what appears to be the kind of top half of the field, everyone quite close together, as the entire field spread only appears to be 1 second, which is obviously very unheard of in normal circumstances in Formula 1, but very common in MyDriver. We now move on to the second team powered by Mercedes power unit, and also the second team to enter Formula 1 this year, Aston Martin Racing. Aston Martin entered the sport with a very economical approach and have bought as many list parts as they can from Mercedes. The team have also gained some extra funding by accepting money from Ferrari to place Callum Ilott, one of their Ferrari junior drivers, in one of the Aston Martin seats. Alongside Callum Ilott is the second ever female racing driver to debut in the MyDriver series, Jamie Chadwick. The Aston Martin team hope to be in the mix for some points this season, but also fully admit that they are at the mercy of their financial budget and also what Mercedes can provide for them engine-wise. Rounding out the grid then are our last 2 remaining works teams, BMW Williams and Renault. BMW have stayed loyal to Sergio Perez, who's had faith in their project ever since he signed 2 seasons ago, and they hope they can deliver him a car to take the fight on occasion to the top teams. Alongside him will be Jack Aitken, who's jumped ship from Renault, and speaking of Renault, the final team then on the grid, Renault appear to have had a very tough winter and found the new lightweight chassis regulations tough to manage. They retain their lead driver Esteban Ocon and have promoted their junior driver Christian Lundgaard to partner. But the team look far from the occasional race-winning form they were last season, and have it all to do to reclaim some of that former glory from last year. But as was mentioned earlier, the entire grid seems to be spread by 1 second, which means the slightest hiccup in qualifying, the slightest technical issue and retirement is really going to make a massive difference, not only in qualifying but also the races this season. And with only 11 races on this year's calendar, it means every single race and every single position for points means that much more. The season calendar can be seen on screen right now. Kick things off with the season opener tomorrow at 7 PM BST at the Bahrain Grand Prix, before moving on to the European portion of the season. Round 2 is the British Grand Prix. We then move on to Germany, Monaco, Belgium, Italy, Spain, before hopping over to the western side of the globe to the Canadian Grand Prix, before then hopping over to the other side of the planet to the Japanese Grand Prix, moving down to Australia, and then finishing off with the fan favourite at the Brazilian Grand Prix. On top of all this change from the last season of Formula 1, and finally we have a change to the points paying system. Due to a shortened race calendar and also the competitive nature now of Formula 1 in this MyDriver 2023 year, the FIA thought it best to award points to the top 12 drivers now who finished the Grand Prix. And on top of that, an additional point will be awarded for the driver with the fast lap of the Grand Prix. So that's been your special news report rundown about how each team's been shaping up over the winter and pre-season testing, and also all the news you need about the new technical regulation changes and also sporting for F1 in this new series of F1 MyDriver 2023. Be sure to come back to this channel tomorrow at 7 PM for this season opener, and then every single Monday and Thursday of the week for a new episode. If you guys did get excited by what you saw in today's video, then be sure to smash the like button, and if you're excited for the new season, let me know in the comments below. This new F1 career mode season, F1 MyDriver 2023 season 9 of the series, is set to be a scintillating 11 race thriller, and now there's nothing else to do but wait for the first race to kick off tomorrow. Till then, we'll leave you with this final bit of footage, an onboard lap of the McLaren around Catalonia during testing.